Madam Mayor, we are live.
Thank you. I'd like to begin the meeting of the Keystone Heights City Council dated Monday, June 1, 2020. It's 6:04. Will you join me with the invocation being offered tonight by Councilman Brown, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance?
So stand. Dear gracious God, we come before you tonight. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of Keystone Heights in the great county of Clay in the state of Florida. But Lord, tonight we think about all the destruction and everything that's going on in our United States. We pray for unity, Lord. We pray for peace of hearts and a change of hearts. We pray, Lord, for our police officers, our fire department guys, everybody, Lord, is out there protecting our rights and our lives. We pray for them. We pray for those that have been hurt. They will have a speedy recovery. We thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to come together tonight. We pray for wisdom and guidance. We have a big agenda, and we just pray for each and every one of our council, Lord, and their families. And we pray for those that are presenting tonight to the council. And we just pray for the wisdom that we need to make those decisions for our people in our city. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Rakowski, would you like to call roll?
Mayor Lake?
Here.
Vice Mayor Hart?
Here.
Councilman Brown?
Here.
Councilwoman Kelly?
Here.
Councilman Peoples?
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Our first order of business is item A, emergency order, local state of emergency. Is there a motion to move by short title?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Mr. Commando.
Resolution 2020-2, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Keystone Heights, Florida, declaring a local state of emergency, adopting Executive Order 20-51, issued by the Governor of Florida, providing direction to the clerk and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Are there any questions for council? Is there a motion to approve and extend the local state of emergency?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Ms. Rakowski, are there any public comment cards?
We have one at this time. Miss Mary, if you can please put Miss Vivian James on the line. Miss Mary?
Yes.
Is Miss James online? Miss James?
Looks like Mary's muted now.
Hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Miss Vivian James, this is public comment.
All right. Just so y'all know, I have a red shirt on, so you won't forget who we are. I got some, I think, very unhappy news this past week with Scott Cornegay's retirement. I will tell you that I've already this morning at 8:30 received a text from St. John's Water Management staff, very concerned and So they're aware that he has left, and the comment was there is going to be a big hole in the city with his leaving, and that it will affect the city, Solo, and the water district. So I'm hoping for a very smooth transition because we've got a lot on our plate right now with the Black Creek project and also the MFL that are literally coming to fruition, probably will be brought to the board in July. So there's a lot going on, and I would like to say the reason I'm here talking to you is I would like to encourage the city council to go forward very quickly with appointing Lynn as the new city manager, not acting, but new city manager. I think it would be a good, smooth transition. Lynn has worked under at least 2 city managers. Everything that I have seen that she has handled, she's been very efficient. So to me, it would be to the benefit of the city and to all of the projects that are going on right now to move Lynn into that position permanently if she would accept it. That is my reason for being here. We'll be talking to you all later and hope to see you guys in July for your meeting. But, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 3, proclamation. Is Mr. Nadler with us, Ms. Lynn?
He is, you know what? He is not. He has been sent the invite, but he is not on with us.
Okay. Well, I do have a proclamation for Enoch Nadler. I didn't have the information for our last meeting. It was locked up in my center. But I do want to recognize a Keystone resident who has certainly represented our area very well. Enoch, nice young man, and has a fantastic family. Many of you know one of his brothers, Sam Nadler, who runs a plumbing business here in town. So I have a proclamation for Enoch, and I'd like to read it to you. Whereas Enoch Nadler was a cross-country runner for Keystone Heights High School and ran distances of 1, 2, and 3 miles for the cross-country and track teams. And whereas Enoch Nadler won districts, regionals, and finished in the top 5 of the state when he was in high school. And whereas Enoch Nadler ran for the University of Florida in the steeplechase from 2004 to 2008 in both the 8K and 10K distances and was awarded all SEC and all regional accolades. And whereas Enoch Nadler came back to Gainesville, Florida after traveling with his wife around the world to establish a running club in 2016. And whereas he committed to running for the Olympic trials in February 2019 in Atlanta, Georgia, placing 24th overall in 20-mile-per-hour winds. And whereas the city of Keystone Heights and its residents are very appreciative of Mr. Nadler's athletic achievements, now therefore be it resolved that by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Keystone Heights, and on behalf of the city council, I, Karen Lake, hereby proclaim Monday, June 1, as Enoch Nadler Day. Is there a motion to approve?
No, I make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. We're up to resolutions. Item A, 2020-586, zoning change, 135 Southwest Flamingo, second reading. Is there a motion to read by short title?
I move.
Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Mr. Commando.
Ordinance number 2020-586, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Keystone Heights, Florida, amending the official zoning map for the City of Keystone Heights by reclassifying approximately 0.24 acres of real property located at 135 Southwest Flamingo Street from the Public Land and Institution Zoning District to the Mixed Use Zoning District providing for findings, providing a legal description of the real property, and providing an effective date.
Are there any questions of Mr. Commando?
No.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Ms. Rakowski, was Sam on with us? Did he want to say anything?
No, ma'am, I don't have him as. He has not said anything. Let me see if I can ask him to unmute. However, with this being second hearing, I believe that everything's been discussed in the first hearing.
Okay. All right. Resolution 2020-05 FDOT agreement. Is there a motion to read by short title?
I'll make a motion to read by short title.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Mr. Commando?
Resolution 2020-05, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Keystone Heights, Florida, authorizing the city manager or city clerk to execute a traffic signal maintenance and compensation agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation, providing for an immediate effective date.
Are there any questions, any discussion? This is our annual contract with FDOT, the mode of right-of-ways. Is there a motion to pass?
Make a motion to pass.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. We have an event application, one yard sale, dated for August 1, 2020. Perhaps Vice Mayor Hart would like to take this item up.
And this is a Women's Club proposed event. Because we couldn't have the parade this year and because it's an election year, we usually charge candidates for participating in floats. And the Kiwanis Club is in need of some funds. So this is going to be an open rummage sale or garage sale, but we're also going to encourage candidates for any office to come and set up a table and meet and greet potential voters. We hope to have a food truck. We're going to have some music. It's just going to be like a country fair type of feel, running from 9 o'clock in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. And we are proposing to have it behind City Hall at the Rotary Park area.
Are there any questions for Vice Mayor Hart?
No.
Is there a motion to pass this event application?
I move.
Is there a second? Awesome. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0.
Kiwanis Club thanks you.
I hope you guys make a lot of money.
Well, I think it's going to be more of a civic event. It's going to be sort of a preview of the Greet the Neighbor thing that's going to happen about a month later. So I think it'll be good for the city too.
Sure. We are at item 6, presentations. Ms. Rakowski, did you want to pick up the COVID-19 countywide update?
Absolutely. So there has been a small spike in numbers for the Clay County area. They have found that most of them have been asymptomatic. However, things are winding down with the COVID-19 in hopes that social distancing, or as Mr. Ward calls it, physical distancing, is working. We are looking to reopen Clay County safely. Our parks have been reopened. Clay County parks are on their way of reopening. The press conferences that have been happening weekly will be discontinued and be happening as needed, as well as the weekly phone calls. So we are on the downside of this. Under COVID-19 update, I do want to do a quick update and ask. We do have the Keystone Heights safety net that is operating out of our pavilion. Right now we are not accepting pavilion rentals. With consensus of the council, I would like to continue not accepting pavilion rentals for as long as they'll need that facility. I have spoken with those in charge, and they are very happy with the room that it provides and the organization and the system that they have right now.
Any questions or concern from council?
Since we're under the 10-person limit, I believe, probably wouldn't have any rentals anyway, would you?
We have been receiving requests for the beginning and middle of July. As of right now, with the safety net set up in there doing their human services lift, we're not capable of providing those rentals. So as of right now, we cannot rent it, but looking into the future, people are trying to plan ahead, not knowing what stage we're going to be in.
Does the safety net anticipate closing down or limiting operations once we're free of the virus?
So this is going to be a strong human services lift and it's going to far surpass anything that the county is going to be doing. They're anticipating staying in there for as long as we will let them right now.
And I will share with you that they are now interviewing some of the people who signed up. There was some 555 people who signed up for different types of needs. And they're going to call them up and interview them to ask them what kind of services are needed going forward for their families. And so until those surveys come back, we won't have a really clear idea of how long we really need to operate.
So as of right now, all pavilion rentals has been suspended through the month of June. And I would like to continue that through the month of July until we get to a safe phase that we can start allowing those types of gatherings again.
That sounds fair.
Yes, I agree.
Perfect.
So great, we have a consensus, Ms. Kukowski.
Thank you.
We are now up to our 2019-2020 audit presentation. I see Mr. Million is with us. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Lake. Okay, well, we're talking about the audit for the year ended September 2019. And just to summarize, we've issued clean opinions on your financial statements. You're staying well within your approved budgets for the various funds. And we just had a couple internal control issues that I wanted to mention. And I don't know if you want to follow along in your PDF copy of the audit report. It's a 50-page report. I was just going to touch on a couple of the highlights, and I usually start with the general fund, and that's on page 38, if you care to look. And I just want to point out the actual of your budget results and a couple items kind of out there. Like I said, you're doing real good at following your budget. We had some large variances due to your CDBG grant that you received. And as you know, it's hard to predict how much you're going to spend on that. So when we look at page 38, we look at those revenues, you get a subtotal there with a large negative 494, and most of that is related to that CDBG, which is listed under the intergovernmental program. So I thought that was important to kind of point that out. And if you scroll down to your expenditures, under economic development, you see a large favorable amount of over 500,000. Those two items pretty much match up. Once you kind of take the grants out of the equation, then you see that you're doing real well following your budget. Most of the line items are coming right in with what you expect. Capital outlay and transportation, again, that's a hard one to predict. You have some projects that don't come to fruition, so that's why you have that favorable variance there. But overall, you're definitely following your budgets there as intended. And then on the following page, on page 39, is your CRA fund. And again, you're following your budgets. You have a lot of cushion there. Your capital outlay, you have a large amount there, hoping that those projects get completed. So when they don't, you end up having a favorable results over compared to your budget. And then flipping to page 14, that's where we show the balance sheet for those two funds. And they're really favorable. You just have very few current liabilities compared to your current assets. So you're still real strong in all of those funds. Looking at your cemetery fund, that's on page 19. Covering your operating costs with your operating income with your rental property and the sales of the cemetery lots. And then you recall you received a $50,000 transfer from the general fund that happened at the end of the year, and then another one the following month to help finance your capital improvements there. All those are real solid. And looking at the two findings we had, we listed them on page 41. Basically, the first finding just relates kind of a timing issue as to how he transferred the $50,000 over from the general fund to the cemetery fund. And one fund said 100,000, the other fund said 50,000 as of September 30th, and then the next month another transfer occurred. So we just had to tighten that up a little bit. Since it was $50,000 and it happened right at the end of the year, it resulted in a finding. It's easily correctable. Mary and Lynn fully understand what's going on there, so that don't see that happening again. The other finding was a little less severe. It relates to the interest income in some of your CDs not getting recorded. And part of the problem there is because you have 2 or 3 CDs in one general ledger account, and you're not getting statements from the bank on a timely basis. And so Mary, being new, they just didn't quite know about a couple different CDs in there to record the interest. And so that's, again, a fairly correctable issue there. The third item we put in on a management letter on page 45 just relates to your budgeting process. There was a couple of hiccups there where we took out a budgeted item even after it had already been expended. And so I'm kind of working with Lynn to try to help her with the format there, kind of avoid those issues in the future. Everybody's human, but if we set it up properly, then we kind of help avoid those little inadvertent mistakes and so forth. We're also talking about reformulating a little bit your QuickBooks, so your internal reports on a monthly basis will have an option of a more condensed financial statement that might be a little easier to read with respect to your budget to actual. And when you get some of those reports, there's so many numbers on there, it can be a little overwhelming. So maybe this recommendation might help, where they're going to try to reformat a little bit of your QuickBooks. And then the final comment I wanted to make was relates to your lake restoration fund and your recapitalization fund, and the suggestion of maybe taking those out of your general fund once and for all and showing those as separate funds. And just to give you an idea, on page 14, where we have the balance sheet for your general fund and your CRA fund, there would be 2 more columns where we would show those separate funds in addition to the 2 we're showing now. And then we'd also have a budget to actual report for those 2 funds. There was a question of whether the audit fee would increase, and it would save me time with less reconciliations for getting the lake restoration fund into the general fund and so forth. So we would be more than willing to absorb those audit costs if you decide to expand and have those 2 separate funds. That was the main points I wanted to get across right now. Is there any questions at this time? I see Dave and Marie are here, and I was going to say a few things about the air park, but I'm attending their meeting tomorrow night, so maybe I'll defer to them. And give it back to you, Mayor Lake.
Also, are there any questions from council about the audit, the 2019-2020 audit? He has met with Budget and Finance, and Mr. Brown and I are very comfortable with their findings and with staff's response to his findings, and we believe it's all correctable. I did make a note, Ms. Burkowski, if you would please bring the separation of funds to our next agenda so that we can give you direction on how to help Mr. Million further next year and years hopefully in the future. We can take care of that item for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That concludes our presentations, and I need to scroll up to the agenda again. So we're moving into the city manager agenda item, and it looks like Mr. Commando is presenting the retirement item A.
Yes, Madam Mayor. As you can see, I think each of you have already seen the resignation letter submitted by Mr. Cornegay. I don't know that there's a formal need for the council to accept it, being that he's already departed. But some of the items for B and C are things that will require a decision from the council.
Thank you. On item B, personal leave.
Madam Mayor, can I jump back to A for just a second? There was a question raised as far as the timing of the retirement. I think his contract required a certain number of days notice, and I don't think he met that, but I would ask that the council simply waive that under the health circumstances.
Can you wait till we get to that part of the agenda? I think you're jumping a little bit.
I think that's 7B.
Yes. So with 7B, what I'd like to share is that I personally really want to make sure that council always has the information it needs. So going forward, if it is an agenda item and it doesn't have any backup behind it, we will just table that item to the next meeting. And if you're really trying to get an agenda on the item, I want to make sure that Ms. Lynn gets it so that we can discuss it. If you could send it to her on the Thursday before a council meeting, that would be great. I want to make sure that everyone is as transparent as possible and gets the information in a timely manner so you can deliberate these subjects with considerable thought. And with that, Mr. Commando, are you presenting the information about his?
Well, as Vice Mayor Hart had started to mention before, the contract for the city manager's contract indicates that he would be paid certain retirement benefits as well as leave payouts, provided that he provided 90 days notice. As you know, he did not provide that notice. However, he is asking, based on some past practices of the manager prior to him and what the council's decision was, if the council would consider waiving that 90-day requirement so that he could receive his leave payout. And as the mayor just indicated, there were some supporting documents that were not, I don't think, circulated to the council until sometime mid today or late morning. At this point, it's up to the council as to whether or not you wish to defer the item or discuss further.
So does everyone feel comfortable they've had enough time to review the item? I was going to table it until next month, but we did get the information, and I want to make sure that all of you feel really comfortable discussing this matter with the amount of time you had with it.
I don't have a problem with doing that for this specific item, but if we're going to be adopting a general policy, that unless we get the paperwork ahead of the meeting, we can't consider it. I'm not comfortable with that, because a lot of times we get supporting documents put before us when we meet in person, and I'm comfortable with that as long as we get them prior to the time we open the meeting. So
that's the piece I'm uncomfortable with. That's a surprise gotcha moment for council, and I want to move away from that type of practice and try and get everything organized so that we have what we need ahead of time.
Some things need to be addressed at a meeting. We can't wait another month just to make sure all the I's are dotted. So I would oppose that as a general policy. For this specific item, I agree with postponing till next meeting.
Okay. Any other comments? Is that a consensus? Do you want to move it so you have time? Because I'm okay with moving it and tabling it till July so you have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Commando about the implications of the decisions we're making on this particular item.
I'm only getting a couple words in every once in a while. So, are y'all saying the table, the personal leave?
Yes.
Well, we don't have a motion to table, but I have no problem with adjourning that matter and keeping it on the calendar for next time. That specific item, and if we want to have a more thorough discussion of what items can be considered if they're not in the original, if they're not an attachment, I think we should have a separate discussion on that at a separate time.
Okay.
I would like to go on record as saying that I would like to pay Mr. Cornegay his leave that he's earned. He's put a lot of time in, extra time, days, 8, 10, 12-hour days. And I think that he's earned that time, and I think he deserves to get all that leave.
Mr. Peoples, are you okay with tabling it till next month?
I think so, that's fine. When we're face to face or side by side or whatever, yeah, I think that's probably good. But I just want to go on the record and say Scott deserves his time.
Okay.
We all agree with
Do you
that.
need a motion? Because it was my understanding that the chair had the purview of tabling it if the backup wasn't sufficient.
We don't have a motion on the floor to table.
Yeah, but it sounds like there's consensus to have the agenda item on your next agenda.
I think you're correct. I agree with that.
Okay, so we will move this item to the July meeting. And again, if you have any questions of Mr. Commando or his contract, feel free to give him a call. He was very helpful for me personally. I had the time to give him a call and ask him my questions.
Madam Mayor, if I may interrupt for just one moment. Councilwoman Kelly, can you hear? Are you good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I apologize. Thank you.
No worries. And we move to item C, having tabled item B.
So after accepting the resignation letter with Mr. Cornegay's retirement, the way we cherish home rule and the authority that's provided to the council, there's a good amount of discretion about how you move forward. But now would be a good time for you to discuss what you're looking at as far as the next steps in selecting a city manager for the city.
Thank you.
I'm here to answer any questions should you have them.
Thanks. I want to share first that I was approached by Mr. Cornegay on Friday, and he indicated that Ms. Wachowski does have another job opportunity with Putnam County. And, I, like Ms. Wachowski, I'm a single parent and understand that she needs to make the very best decision she can for her family. She is the most qualified person I think I could find for this job. She can do it probably with a hand tied behind her back. And I sincerely mean that. I think she takes care of most of the technical aspects of our reporting to the state, which is really critically important. I am in education, and so I am offering a different pathway. It would be, we've had conversations in the past, myself with Lynn and with Mr. Cornegay, about each of their ability to earn their industry certification, which really legitimizes city business. And so what I would propose is giving Ms. Wachowski at least a year to embark on her CMC, which is her Certified Municipal Clerk status. And during that time, we give her a bump in pay so that she is doing the work and getting the experience of the manager. So as she completes that CMC, she can move on to her manager municipal certification. And I think it's important for city and our residents to have a level of professionalism that goes along with her skill set. And so that would be my thoughts for Ms. Wachowski. I think she earned the job. I simply see a different pathway for her to take over the full-time job. Vice Mayor Hart, we'll go with the next in my next picture.
I have no problem at all with as part of the employment agreement, which will have to be drafted, putting a provision similar to that in there. I think it's always a good thing to enlarge your education. And I would hope that the agreement would say that the city would pay for that. I have a question of you, Rich. Are there any statutes or do you see anything in our ordinance requiring a search, or can we just go ahead and make a decision? And it's my understanding that one city in Clay County has already basically followed this transition. I think it was Orange Park, was it not?
Yes. To answer your two questions, no, there's not a statute that requires you to go out to a search. Recently, the city of Palatka, and then prior to that, the town of Orange Park, did make selections without a formal search process like we engaged in prior.
I'm going to make a motion in two parts. Number one, I move that the city council employ our clerk as our new city manager effective today, right now. And in the second part, as far as a contract, I would request that the city attorney negotiate with her as far as the contract. I would like to see, I have a serious couple of numbers in mind, and I'm just going to throw these out. I haven't researched this, but to me they sound fair. A salary range of between 60 and say 65. I think that's fair. It's less than what our city manager was making. And I think we know the amount of time that she's going to be putting in. So that would be my motion. We employ her now, and that the city attorney enter into negotiations with those dollar parameters.
And the educational component.
The educated, right, exactly.
So is there a second to bring it up for discussion?
I'll second.
Okay, so, Mr. Peoples, your thoughts, please.
I think that Lynn is competent, and I think she's been doing the job. No disrespect to Scott, but she's been doing the bulk of the work, and I think that she's ready to do it. She can work on her educational part of it, but we don't need 2 vacancies, because I'm pretty sure that Ms. Rakowski is not going to train her replacement again. She's had to do that, and I think that's unacceptable. So I think we should go ahead and appoint her today.
Mr. Brown?
I would say that when I was mayor and before that, being able to work, we had a lot of events and a lot of Saturdays, and that Lynn was there, and even her son, she brought her boys to help, and there's a lot going on in this city right now in the way of events and projects, the big projects that are happening. And I would honestly, we can't leave this position void and have somebody come in that just doesn't know what's going on. And we need to go forward and let Lynn take the bull by the horn, and like she has been, and then just go with it, and have her as the manager. And educational wise, I understand that education is necessary in this field sometimes, but I think that over the 8 years that I've worked with her, personally, I don't think the education would have amounted to hill of beans for what the work that she's had to do. But I am a true believer in education. Not that I don't have a college degree, but anyhow, I'll shut up. I just think we need to go on forward. And the reservations I had, that me and Lynn sat down and we've got that taken care of in the way of the public and the city hall, and how city hall needs to be ran. And I have full confidence in the 8 years that I've worked with Lynn that she can take it.
Ms. Kelly?
And Lynn to make an excellent city manager, and can experience substitute for education?
You can. I mean, that's some of the flexibility that is afforded to the council.
May I ask for a clarification, Madam Mayor? I think you said that she would have to start embarking this education sometime within the first year. So it would be between now and the end of May of 2021. Is that correct?
That's correct. Right now, Lynn is eligible for her certified municipal clerk status. She would not be eligible for her certified municipal manager certificate until she's been in that position for 5 years.
I see.
So she would best be able to earn her CMC prior to being eligible for her MMC. And I think at least that level of certification lends credibility to our city and our residents.
So the employment agreement would speak only to the certification as a clerk?
Yes. Is there any other discussion? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Just, excuse me, do we have her say anything, or we just?
Oh, I don't know about that.
It does help if she accepts the offer.
I think so.
Well, don't we have to vote for it first before she accepts the offer?
Okay. All right. Yeah.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Welcome to the job.
Thank you very much, council. And I accept.
Oh, there you go.
I do have one point of clarification then. For the conversations for contract negotiations, is that something that you would like to see in front of you at the next council meeting, or would you like to schedule a special council meeting to handle that?
I'm okay with it being at the next council meeting, because if it's before then, chances are we're going to have to do it virtually. If we do it on our
Right.
July
I
meeting,
recommend that I can prepare something and it can be effective with today's date
So you
as far
have
as
to
the
then
conference.
do those classifications based on your
And hopefully by
certification.
then we don't have to meet virtually.
Take classes for that, right?
I would suggest we make it effective as of today, June 1.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I look forward to working with everybody as your city manager.
Excellent. So we're at consent agenda items 8, which includes the minutes of the May 4th meeting, the financials from April, and the payables from April. Is there a motion to move the entire consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to move this consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Under old business, Ms. Kowski, do you have anything to report on the Keystone Heights Police Protection?
So we have nothing to report yet. COVID-19 has kind of put a damper on all of our conversations, both with the sheriff's office and the fire department. I look forward to those being on their way over the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Item B, under old business, trailhead plans and bid process. I saw that Mr. Bowles was on with us.
He
Directed
is.
by Mr. Bolton.
I'll give you a quick update on that, and then Mr. Bowles can answer any questions that you may have. We will be advertising to bid and officially out to bid this Thursday. We will have a mandatory pre-bid meeting on July 9th, and all of our bids, or I'm sorry, I apologize. Our bids will be due on July 9th. And we will have a mandatory pre-bid on-site meeting June 24th. And so we're looking forward to move that project forward.
Excellent. Any questions of City Manager Rakowski?
I don't have a question on that, but if we could back up, I don't think we addressed the issue of whether or not Lynn would continue as clerk and be the city manager at the same time. I think that's what's contemplated, but I think we should have that in the contract if that is what we want.
I would say, before Lynn was appointed as city clerk, those responsibilities that are outlined in both the code and the charter were vested really with Mr. Suggs at the time. So it really would be a return, probably a cost-saving measure to the city to combine those two salaries and to have the responsibilities reside with one person.
There are probably statutory requirements as to who you process and so on. So I think we ought to keep the role of clerk in her hands.
I agree.
Thank
Does
you.
everyone agree with that short conversation?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly? All right. Okay. So we're to committee reports. We were approached by, I believe it was the town of Orange Park. Ms. Rakowski, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it?
So the Human Services Relief donation, this started with the town of Orange Park, who donated $10,000 out of their general fund to the Clay County Board of County Commissioners for their for purchase of the needs of dry goods and canned goods for our food shelter, or I'm sorry, our food banks. The challenge came from the mayor of Orange Park, challenging each municipality to see if there was any way that they could help donate, if they could match or help donate into that fund. I have spoken with Mr. Ward and Ms. Hepner, who's in charge of this specific action for the Board of County Commissioners. They have relationships with the food service industry and the local stores to where they can receive up to a 50% match of any of the dry and canned goods that they purchase. So we could essentially turn our $5,000 into $7,500. I tried to reach out to Ms. Hepner today to get the to-date numbers on how this affects our area, our city of Keystone Heights, in this area of Clay County. She is in the middle of moving offices and was not able to get back to me However, I do know in previous conversations that our area, our safety net, who's done a fantastic job, might I add, does receive a good majority of the food that is purchased through or is received through the Board of County Commissioners.
Yes, I think even on Friday evening, we gave food away to about 200 people at the elementary school. It was fantastic. It was phenomenal. So Mr. Brown and I agreed that we would generously donate $5,000, and that's why we're bringing it to your attention today. But since I'm thinking about that and having approved that, I really feel like we should split that in half and do 2,500 to the north end of the county and keep 2,500 down to efforts here in Keystone. So I'll open it up for discussion and see how everyone else feels. But my recommendation would be split that in half and send 2,500 up and keep 2,500 down.
I like that idea.
Where would the 2,500 go to? Who would go to Lamb?
It could either go to LAM or it could go to the COVID-19 response, which is a little different because LAM is not able to purchase cleaning supplies. And while we've been giving away a lot of food, some of the needs that have been coming into us have been in cleaning supplies. So if the money went to Answers COVID-19 response, they could use the money to buy food and projects and diapers for women and children, and also cleaning supplies for people who need it and can't afford it.
I like that.
Yep.
So is there a motion to contribute $5,000, $2,500 to EOC and $2,500 to Answers COVID response? Is there a motion to pass?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Vice Mayor Hart, do you have anything from Growth Management?
No report.
We are now on item C, the Keystone Heights Airport Authority. Welcome, Maria, David. Hello there.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good to be with you tonight. Maria and I are going to tag team our report this evening. I'll start off by just sharing some information that we've been contacted by Comcast about them extending fiber optic cable down into the airport. This would be in conjunction with the DEO grant and the IT infrastructure that is going on with the West Side Access Road. We're going to be meeting to talk about the access agreement, some of the specifics with respect to the conduits, and our engineer, Bill Prang, will also be in that meeting with us. AECOM, who is the engineer of record for the airport, Bill Prang, found out today from the Bradford County commissioners that they have been awarded the contract for the environmental assessment. They had prepared scope and fees for review, and they found out this morning commissioners had awarded that to them. Just a reminder that tomorrow evening we will be having our Keystone Heights Airport Authority board meeting. We will be exercising the physical distancing and limiting our conference room to 10 folks. So just a heads up about that, and that will be at 6 p.m. If you'd like to come. So with that, I'm going to have Maria share some other items of interest to you.
Good evening, Council. Just a few things. If you all recall last, I guess it was last April, a year ago in April, that you all put on the ballot the request for our official name change from Keystone Air Park Authority to Keystone Heights Airport. And it passed. And we've then moved forward. Of course, it was effective January 1 of this year. We went forward and started our request through the FAA. which of course is the first line of approval. And then we move forward with DOT and so on and so forth. So we requested that when from the FAA at the beginning of January. We just received a notice last week that they've approved that. So you'll start to see requests and changes along the way and signage and all that good stuff. So we're very proud of that. So thank you to the city for your assistance in all of that last year. As David had mentioned, part of the COVID in phase one, we did move into phase one on the 25th, last Monday of May. So we were proud and happy and excited to open our doors. Of course, we are maintaining no more than 10 people at a time and keeping up with cleanliness and all that good stuff. But finally, we've been able to show off our new building. And we're getting great responses and all sorts of just great feedback from our tenants, as well as people who just love to come here and visit and fly in and use our car to go to the restaurants. It's exciting time. So we'll be planning our grand opening as the phases then proceed, and we're looking forward to that. So we'll keep you all posted. And then, of course, we just want to give a special thanks to the city. One day we'll grow up and we'll be able to get a brand new vehicle out here, but until then, we're happy to accept hand-me-downs. One of the hand-me-down trucks took its last run a couple weeks ago, and so thank you to Scott and to Lynn for passing down a Ford F-150 that was hanging out doing nothing in your garage. So we've put that to good use, put new tires on it, a new battery, and it's loving its life out here at the airport. So thank you so much. And I think that's all we have, unless anyone has any questions.
Maria, if I may add, that was one of my favorite trucks to drive when I was doing code enforcement and such, so I'm glad that it went to a good home and there's still life.
Yeah, we're gonna suck the last bit of power we can out of these things, so yeah, good, thank you.
Watch out for the springs in the seat.
You got it. I think I know which springs you're talking about.
Are there any questions of either David or Maria? If not, thank you again for joining us. Hopefully this is the last time we meet virtually. Maybe we'll see you in person next time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. We are at 10D, planning and zoning, and the first item of business is Taco Bell. Ms. Bukowski, would you like to pick it up from here?
I do, and we have several people that are on the call regarding Taco Bell. And so I just, before we get into that conversation, wanted to have a conversation with council, let you know that part of the review for any kind of new development is that plans approved by council. Taco Bell has expressed a pretty urgent timeline, and so we're doing our best to help them along so that we do receive development inside Keystone Heights. The plans that you have tonight are still very new to staff. Those are the first reviews of Mr. Bowles. And so what we're really looking for is any kind of conversations, questions that you may have regarding the development of Taco Bell. We don't foresee any major issues. There will be a need for a variance for the 2 driveways that are there. Other than that, there's nothing really out of the ordinary. So at the end of this conversation, seeking approval upon administrative approval of this review. And with that, Mr. Bowles, I'll send it over to you, let you have the conversation.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. Let me first start by saying congratulating you, Lynn, on your new appointment. Well deserved, and it's always been a pleasure working with you and being the conduit to the council, so I'm pleased to see that that decision was made. So basically, it's a really easy kind of a site plan. There's nothing, like Lynn kind of said, there's nothing outstanding that's not within our code and ordinances. The tree ordinance looks like it's all in place. The only real things that I really took notice to is that, the double driveways, which by code is technically not allowable, but the code also does read that there is an opportunity to get the double driveway if you show you need it. the Taco Bell probably will not have a problem at all showing that they need the trips to, they need the double driveway with the trip generation that they will generate. So it's just raising the flag to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's to just get the variance for the double driveway. I don't see a real problem with that. The other thing that I really noticed was that there's no sidewalk on the front of the parcel, which throughout the city, we try to, every development should be placing sidewalk along their development as an initiative to increase pedestrian access. So there's not that here, and then I just suggested, and then every building per ADA federal code requires a accessible route to the right of way. So those basically 3 items were the main things. I didn't really see anything else that was out of line. It's a pretty good set of plans. Everything's in order. And I will take any questions or anything else anyone might have in regards to the Taco Bell plans. And then I know the engineer and the developer and architect are on the line too. If I can't help answer, I know they certainly can.
Mr. Brown, I see your hand raised.
Yes, ma'am. Question, sidewalks. Are we looking, since we're looking at coming in from Commercial Circle and Greenway, are we looking at sidewalks on both those entrances?
Well, the sidewalk rule is the frontage of along the right of way. So the sidewalk would have to go all the way across the parcel along the right of way.
Okay, the front is facing 100, the Greenway, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So yeah, it'd be sidewalk along Greenway, right in front of their parcel, yes, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Vice Mayor Hart, you have questions?
Just a little bit of a concern, but more of a question, I guess. First of all, I know we've already approved the drive-up window, so I think we're pretty much on our way to this project. How is traffic going to flow to this restaurant? I don't think Azalea's parking lot is a public way, is it?
So, Mr. Bowles, if I may, no, Azalea is not through traffic. That is a private property. The entrance will be off of Greenway in front of the Capital City Bank, and that's something that staff will be working with the developer in a concurrency review.
Because I can see it at peak times, lunchtime or whatever, that you're going to have quite a bit of traffic trying to access back onto 100, and it might be cause for concern. So as long as you're going to address that, I'm content.
Absolutely.
Well, great project. You got, what, 2.5 acres to work with. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's a good project. They're only utilizing half of the acreage too, so they're minimizing the impact. So it's a good project. But we have identified that same accessible route thing with the vehicular traffic going through the private doctor's office. So yeah, we're trying to find creative ways to resolve that as well.
Perhaps a cross-access agreement or something like that.
Yeah, well, I don't know the right answer yet, because you're right. The normal person's going to go across there no matter what.
Yeah.
Mr. Bowles, how many trips counts are they anticipating?
Well, I don't know. It's part of their review process. They'll have to generate a concurrency trip evaluation. So that is up to the developer to provide that. So that is part of the review process, to have the concurrency updated and understood what the trip impact would be and how it will affect things.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council?
Yes, I had a concern like Mr. Hart about people coming through Azalea parking lot, but is there an engineering way that you can make the front entrance where you go into the drive-through where you can't actually turn into it from this side, you have to go this side? Is that an engineering possibility?
We could get with the developer on that, but it's kind of hard because they're almost, I would almost call it mid-block. I mean, they're right at the end of the cul-de-sac. The way that Azalea parking lot is, that's private property. We really can't do anything to that. They have made that their way on their own. So to kind of force like a left in, left out only kind of scenario, a right in, right out scenario, it'd be hard to really do, and it would really impact their site. So I don't know if we could leverage that kind of engineering to help that fact.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Ms. Kelly, do you have any questions? Okay. So,
If I may, Mayor, is it possible to let one of the engineers or architects speak? Because I feel like it's their project. I want to make sure I've spoke on their behalf and this project, okay?
absolutely. I don't know who's here with us, so do you want to identify the person that you think would best fill that role?
So I'm not sure if Mr. Rick or Mr. Jared, if either one of you would like to start this conversation off.
Jared can lead off. He's very familiar with this project. If he's on, if not, I can go in.
I'm here, folks. Not sure if my video will start. I've had some issues with video. Okay, there we go. Hello, folks. Good evening. Appreciate your time. I can, me and Rick are here, and then also we have the engineer of record, I believe Sam Sabali. I'm the staff engineer working on the permitting and design of this project, and Rick is the project manager working on the design of the project. As it relates to the trips, we did actually have a trip study done by traffic and mobility consultants, and we can provide that to Mr. Bowles in our resubmittal in the response to comments from city staff. So we can include that for as part of the review. We did also, as part of that coordination, traffic and mobility consultants, the traffic engineer had actually reached out to DOT to find out if there was any coordination with this project required with DOT. And traffic and mobility consultants had presented the trip report to them, and they didn't see any issues with the project and didn't say that any permitting or application for review was required with DOT. So we do feel that, whatever is the trips and the trip generation on Greenway coming off of the state road should be manageable. And like I said, we can include that trip report with our resubmittal to Mr. Bowles so he can review that. And we can address any other.
Hey, Jared, if
comments.
I may, are you familiar with what at least the concern is of the council? That being that at the end of the cul-de-sac is a private property, and it is a clear shot over to Commercial Drive and a signal for State Road 100. I think what we're trying to say is we want to raise caution to you guys as a development and a design team to maybe help us generate a good response and a good engineering answer to try to prevent people from going through that doctor's office lot to access the Taco Bell.
Good evening. This is Sam Sabali. I'm the engineer of record for the project. And if I may, I would like to share my screen if that is possible.
We have technology. Anything is possible.
Absolutely. Are you familiar with how? And I apologize.
I am on my end. I just requested to share the screen.
Can you give him permission, Ms. Wachowski?
Hold on one second.
And a question I do want to follow up on while she's giving you that permission is that there's an aggressive timeline. What kind of timeline are we looking at from this point to completion?
Rick, would you like to address the timeline, or Keegan?
Well, certainly as soon as possible. We'd like to, start construction, and I would anticipate a month and a half to 2 months to get all the permitting wrapped up, and certainly Jared can chime in on that. He's dealing with the permitting for all of this. And I just want to say we're real excited about coming to Keystone Heights, and we'll do whatever we can to address your concerns. And because we want to be a good neighbor, and perhaps just some creative signage, no thoroughfare. I don't know that you're going to stop everybody. You can stop the people that understand why those signs are there. good-natured people might abide by that, but I understand that concern.
Yeah, and Rick, hi guys, this is Keegan Stack. I'm the Director of Development for U.S. Leaders with the Taco Bell franchisee here. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
I think in the beginning we tried to address that by having the rear access drive, if you guys remember, but that was, I took it away due to concerns of truck traffic back there. I think Rick's right. It doesn't really look like the cross access was set up for commercial use, but there are private property signs there. I'm not really sure what else we can do. I remember approaching them, I think several years ago actually, about a cross access agreement, and it was turned down. But we will reapproach them and see if that's in the cards.
That would give me some comfort. You could have your legal maybe contact them and see what can be worked out, perhaps with some compensation.
Most likely, yes.
I think one of the items we could do with signage is, as you are exiting the site, we can put a sign indicating right turn only. So for folks who are coming out, they are not going in the easterly direction. And as far as the number of entrances, I think one of the main drivers of having the two entrances is we wanted, whether it's emergency vehicles or it is delivery trucks, not to back up on the roadway, and we wanted to allow them to go through the site and be able to exit. So that kind of drove the requirement to have two access points. So really with that, and I think that's the only item where we needed a little bit of flexibility from the code. So with that, if we have that flexibility, I think we meet all other code requirements, and we'll do our best to direct traffic to go to the west by signage. And, if there are other opportunities, we would explore them.
Were we able to give permission to share, or?
I was not able to, but let me try. Yep, I just got it. All right, so you can see what we did here is we have a truck turning movement, and you can see this is really what we're trying to accomplish, the truck to be able to come in and get out, and that would serve whether it's emergency vehicles or delivery vehicles or what have you. So that's really the need of having the two driveways. We would put signage, and potentially we can put it on both sides of the driveway indicating, as you're coming out, right turn only. And as Rick indicated, that's going to capture most of the people who are going to follow directional signs. You may have some people who may not go in that direction, but they are in violation of what we are trying to accomplish.
I would even suggest maybe a sign directly across the street on Greenway on the south, behind the south curb.
Right here.
Yes, sir. That one might work good too. And I think the city might be able to
sign right here.
Yeah, I think that one might be a good one too.
So we could do that.
In the design plan, I know with Dunkin' Donuts, we were concerned about emergency vehicles getting in or having someone experience an emergency and getting out of the drive-through line. Is your drive-through wide enough for someone to get out and go around if they had to?
They have a bypass lane. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Mayor.
Yes, I don't know if you can see the truck movement. Let me see. So this is where the truck would be. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time here. So the truck would be going in that direction.
Yeah, Sam, I think Madam Mayor's question is in regards to...
Vehicles would be parked right here. So there is adequate distance between...
Oh, got you.
Yeah, and this is Rick Apt. I spoke with Keegan earlier, our client earlier, and we put that median on the top side of the drive-through across from the menu board. We do that so that when cars come into the site, they don't compete. If they come in two different directions, they don't compete trying to get in there. And so we do this as a barrier. And in this instance, we're really only talking about one entrance to get back there. So we've decided to delete that and just provide striping in that area. So that'll give additional room for trucks, the trailer, emergency vehicles to negotiate that. And also maybe pickup trucks with landscape trailers could go through the drive-through and not have to worry about hitting curbs as much as it would if we had it. So we'll eliminate that raised median across the back of the store to make it more flexible.
Excellent. Are there any more questions from council to any of the engineers? So, Ms. Burkowski, what do you need from us from council tonight to move forward with Taco Bell?
So, first, Mr. Sam, if I may, if you can pull back your screen share. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. So, to be able to move Taco Bell's development along in a timely manner, then staff is asking that you approve the site plan upon administrative review. Mr. Bowles has not yet completed, and we still have conversations to have with Taco Bell regarding their development. But this way, once it's done, and after speaking with them briefly this afternoon, we hope that it will be done quickly, that we can go ahead and move forward.
Excellent. And is landscaping and all of it included in this one review?
I'm sorry?
Is landscaping also included in the review?
So that is part of this entire review process. The administrative review is going to be the elevation, which includes signs, landscaping, the tree mitigation, all of that. Yes, Madam Mayor.
So Lynn, are you asking us to delegate to staff, to you, the final okay on this? As long as staff is happy with it, the engineer is happy with it, then it will go forward without further action on our part. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, Vice Mayor Hart.
I'll move that we follow that format and plan pending final approval by staff and by the.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Let me be the first to welcome Taco Bell to Keystone Heights. I can share with you that there are many happy campers in our little town this moment.
Now, please understand that we will see them again for our variance hearing. This does not exclude them from that part for the two driveways. However, as far as council action, we are good.
So the next time we see them will be for the variance.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I know Taco Bell was founded in the early 60s, and I'm a California boy, and they were founded out there. So I have been a Taco Bell person all my life. So I'm happy they're here.
Great to hear.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thanks for your help.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody, for the Taco Bell development, you are free to leave the call if you'd like. Mr. Bowles, I'm going to ask for you to stay on just for a couple moments, please.
So
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, everyone.
DB is the senior center. Ms. Bukowski, you want to present the project?
Yes. So we do have an application for a business of the senior center located at the Champion's Heart Church across the street from the Azalea Park. There is not a zoning change that's required, and there isn't an increase in parking due to the use. However, I wanted to bring this in front of council because it's a little bit of a unique situation. The use the property is public land and institution, which allows for both the church and the senior center. And it has been a church for many years. The question, or my dilemma tonight, is that parking is very different for a church than it is for a senior center. In your packet is the new senior center's plan for parking. Those 25 spaces that are located on the sign is not a developed parking lot. That has been accepted by council previously in the way of a church. However, a church generally meets on a Sunday, and this will be a Monday through Friday, or even a longer period of time. So with that gray area, I wanted to bring this to council tonight for input, because it does not throw them into a change in use, which does not allow for a site plan review, but I do feel that it's going to impact parking in that area, and wanted to have discussion on council to how to move forward.
Is there any questions for the engineer?
I do.
Mr. Brown?
I've been in that area for, well, all my life. And my office was there right across the street from this church. And from experience, when what we used to call somewhat normal, I know Clay Behavioral is right there on Nightingale and Magnolia. It's hard to find a parking place. Back in the 90s, we placed that insert there in the between the road and the sidewalk there at Terry's Park. And I believe you can probably get about 6 cars in there, maybe squeeze a little tiny thing in there, but probably about 6 cars. My concern is, like our new manager just explained, this is not going to be a church. I've heard 2 things. It's going to be a senior center and it's going to be a community center. So I know that the senior center on Commercial is packed. And me personally, I don't know why we're having another senior center when we have one, but my concern would be is the parking, and where is everybody going to park? If it's going to turn out like the one we have on Commercial that has designated parking areas for people, they still have overflow and have to park other places. And it is going to be at least 5 days a week. So we really need to seriously think before we start bringing that many cars in a neighborhood that's not, and yes, that is a neighborhood too. I mean, you got a lot of residents around there too. So my concern is the parking. It's not going to be like going to church on Sunday. It's going to be 5 days a week.
I have a question of the city attorney. Since this is a different use, would there be no grandfathering of any informal parking agreements or anything like that? Nothing's being carried forward, correct?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And Lynn, I think this is going to be a commercial business. It's not going to be a charitable entity. Is that correct? Somebody's is doing this for profit.
That's my understanding under the business tax. Well, and I could be wrong. Mayor Lake is shaking her head no. However, under the code, it does not constitute a change in use, which would implement a site plan review. And so, but I understand that there is going to be an impact of parking.
So the next step, if the person who is proposing this wants to go forward, they would be applying for a variance, hardship variance. Question to city attorney, please.
All right, yes, the answer to that is yes, they would have to apply.
So I guess that would be their next step if they wanted to go forward, in my view.
And Mr. Bowles, if you could work your way to what that variance would look like and what they would have to achieve in order to prove the variance is righteous?
So
yes, ma'am, I can do that. Lynn, are we calling, what is our use that we're saying this is?
This is a senior center, and Mr. Bowles, and understand please that Mr. Bowles has had no time to review this. This was a conversation that I had with council, so I can get with Donnie on all of that. My question is just because under the code of ordinances, under our land development regulations, it would not put this into a change in use, it would not go into a site plan. So I was really seeking direction from council on how you would like to see this handled moving forward.
I think I would need to understand what the existing use is and understand what the proposed use is.
And we can.
And then evaluate what the parking count required for that. And in my technical mind, that would be, we would originally have to plan for that off-street parking. And, we'd have to see where that was going to go, because it does raise a significant impact of vehicles in that area. And if it's as often as it is, we would definitely want to understand that.
So do you just need a general consensus from us to move forward and allow Mr. Bowles to do that work?
Yes.
Yes.
So is everyone in agreement that Donnie should evaluate that site for parking?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So that's 3 yeses that I heard.
Yes.
If you want to move forward, Mr. Bowles, with that and evaluate it for us, and then hopefully you can bring it back for our July meeting.
Absolutely. We'll be
Not a
able to,
problem.
we'll put this application in front of either planning and zoning as a variance or the council soon.
Okay, awesome. Then let me scroll all the way back up to the top. It's a big file. There's a lot of scrolling. Vice Mayor Hart, do you have anything for us from the Heritage Commission?
No, just a reminder that the commission is one commissioner short, and perhaps if we could do some talking it up to find someone, ideally it would be an attorney, but your ordinance allows for flexibility in that regard.
Excellent. New business. Item A, interlocal agreement with Bradford County regarding Keystone Heights Airport.
So, Madam Mayor, the last conversation that I had with Mr. Cornegay was that we were waiting on an interlocal agreement to be presented to us from Mr. Sexton from Bradford County. I have not seen that agreement as of yet. Mr. Kirkland and Ms. Hitt, is there anything that I'm unaware of?
No, I will tell you that we reached out to Ms. Roden earlier this afternoon because we had not heard anything as well. She said her response is, I spoke with Mr. Sexton and he indicates that he will provide the revised interlocal agreement to the airport project team later this week.
Perfect, so we shall see it on the July agenda, and this will be coming to an end.
I can only hope. I'll keep you posted.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. 11B, beach fence. Ms. Burkowski, would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. So this has been a concern and a priority for the last little while to replace the existing beach fence. Unfortunately, I do not have a timeline from FDOT regarding our State Road 21 project, yet they're still working on some drainage issues as of this afternoon. But I would like to go ahead, if council would prefer to go out to bid for this, and then that way when we're ready to move forward, we have all of the information already.
Is there a consensus from council, or do you need a motion?
A motion, please.
Consensus is fine because you'll vote on it with the final bids.
Once the bids are.
So any questions or concerns? I haven't heard from council. Do you have any questions?
It's badly needed for security reasons and for aesthetics. I think we should authorize the city clerk to proceed with the bidding process.
I'm in agreement too. It's badly needed. Anyone else want to chime in?
I agree.
Okay, you have 3 yeses to move forward.
Fantastic, thank you.
And then items 11C is July meeting date. Mr. Kelly, want to share the history of this?
So the July meeting date is scheduled for July 6th, which is right after the 4th of July weekend. Typically, the July meeting gets postponed a week because of the holiday, but I wanted to bring that in front of council.
I will be unable to attend that meeting. We have a planned trip to Wisconsin. We're going to leave after the July 6th meeting.
Okay.
So do you prefer to continue meeting at July 6th? Is that the preference then, Vice Mayor Hart?
That would be my preference.
Mr. Peoples, do you have any ideas? Are you okay?
July 6th is fine with me. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brown,
I'm good.
for July 6th?
July 6th.
Yes.
All right, we have a consensus. Ms. Kelly, I haven't heard from her in a while. Ms. Kelly, are you okay with July 6th?
Fine for me.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody. I've got some grandkids I haven't met yet.
Fantastic.
Yeah, hope you have a fantastic meeting, first meeting.
Thank you.
Council comments. We'll start with Mr. Peoples. You just popped up.
Oh, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'd like to first congratulate our new city manager, Lynn Rukowski. I think she's going to do a great job.
Thank you.
I have still have concerns with if possibly maybe we can get with the Deputy Santiago about this mini bike golf cart traffic. It's like a honeycomb at 6 o'clock at night when I'm walking, and they're all coming off the side streets. And you've got children still riding mini bikes and driving golf carts, and I think we need to talk to Clay County Sheriffs and work on enforcing that.
Can I comment on that? I saw Deputy Santiago today. He's going to let me know that the sheriff is going to be doing a walk in our neighborhood. So, and he will be contacting Lynn to let us know when that's going to be. Perhaps you can get his ear and the sheriff's ear at the same time.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do know that they're very well, he's very aware of the participants on those mini bikes, and he has discussed it with them individually. And he said he would escalate his endeavors and meet the parents next time he caught them.
Thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor Hart, do you have any comments for us today?
I do not.
All right, Mr. Brown.
On the mini bikes, if they start stroking some tickets, that gets everybody's attention when they have to reach into their pocketbook. I've been having some issues with the internet, but going back to our new city manager, should we have somebody start working on a contract with her, or how's that going?
That was part of the mission that the city attorney and our new manager sit down and go nose to nose and work out the details and bring it back to us at the next meeting.
Okay. Other than that, that's all I have.
Ms. Kelly?
Congratulations to Lynn. Now, I think we made an excellent choice.
Okay. I will add my congratulations to Lynn. You certainly worked your way up the ladder. So I know we'll enjoy the fruits of your labor because you'll leave a stone unturned. So we're going to be very fortunate. In terms of what's been happening, we have made a significant impact at Keystone Safety Net Alliance, and I continue to be just in awe of the power of unity. And, you know, we've experienced some really powerful stories here, and I hope and pray that as a nation we continue to build unity because the news has been so negative, and I really believe that when we get together we can do a lot more as one unit. And then let's see, I think I'll conclude there. Ms. Rukowski, do you have any comments as city manager?
Thank you again.
Whichever one you want, you can have fun.
No, I think that everything that I've had was handled throughout the agenda. I did want to let you know that we will be starting our Sheriff's Net meeting back up in July. The league is planning their dinners moving forward, so we look forward to reuniting with all of our friends.
Excellent. Mr. Commando, do you have any kind words for us today?
Just congratulations, Lynn. It's a pleasure to continue working with you. And I noticed through social media that there was a COVID case that came in through Keystone Heights that some of the citizens were talking about. Just please remember to keep those families in your prayers. And if you have any questions, I'll be reaching out to each one of you to discuss individually what should be pretty much the same contract that we extended to Mr. Cornegay. But if you have any questions during that time, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you.
Well, I didn't say congratulations, but congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else for the good of the order? I know it was a long meeting, but we tackled quite a bit today and got a lot done. So thank you for virtually meeting with us, hopefully for the last time. We'll be in conversations with Ms. Wachowski, making sure we're in a downward trend in terms of COVID-19 counts so that we can start meeting together. And with that, I'll close the meeting at 7:34.
Thank you.
Thank you.